Plant research jobs that are happening in laboratories are a huge part of botany work for anybody that's seeking to get into the job market. In this video, I'm going to try to break down the structure of these different plant research programs. I'm going to talk about the size of labs and how that can impact your responsibilities, the degree requirements that are involved in different parts of lab work, as well as just give you a couple places to start looking at jobs if you don't know where to go and you want to get into this. Now, as for plant program structure, and yes, the whiteboard is going to be a fixture in this video, we've got three major components. There's genetics, so what actual plants are we choosing to do any work on? There's going to be cultivars, and that's going to be the people that grow the plants and give us products to work with and see what we're doing. And finally, quality analysis. What did the plants that we grow in the lab, in the field, greenhouse, wherever they were, what did they actually do? How did they perform? If we're making food with the plants, did they taste good? If we're trying to plant them to restore an area, did they restore an area? Now, giving these structures some real world applications, the first thing and probably the most common worldwide is going to be agricultural programs. At the very top, you're going to have breeders that are going to be looking at probably what variety of a crop they want to be using. Cultivators, which are going to be the people that are literally going to be growing a plant from seed up either in a greenhouse or out in a field environment. And then finally, you're going to have food quality or plant health. These are just two really common ones. There's other things you can do with crops here. Food quality is going to be literally testing how well does a food perform when it comes to making a certain kind of product, or just looking at overall protein or starch or something like that about the food. Native seed programs. Now, at the top of this, you're going to have seed technicians. Because of the style of the program that this is, you're going to generally be going out into the field and actually collecting seeds when you're doing this job. The growers, depending on what kind of project you're looking at, you're either going to be in a greenhouse or you're going to be in a field growing stuff, probably for a restoration project in a lot of scenarios. Then finally, you got your restoration technicians or natural resources people that are going to go into the field and actually perform the restoration project to see if your seeds were good and worked out. Finally, the last example that I'm going to use, don't tell anybody, is marijuana. Now, in all seriousness, in the past, this might have been not the most reputable lab to try to get a job at. Marijuana labs in the state that I live in, it's totally legal and it's popping up everywhere. Generally, it's the same structure as any sort of agricultural lab setting. There's breeders, which are just geneticists that are trying to figure out what are the desirable qualities. There's growers, which used to be, harmful to the environment. I'm pretty sure it kind of still is in most places, but they're getting better and regulated a little bit. And quality analysis. What you care about is what would you do if you worked at one of these labs? Well, depending on the size of your lab, if it's a small lab, there's going to be you, maybe a few people. For me, I worked in a lab with 5 different people maybe the entire time I was there, and I ended up doing all of the different roles. Alternatively, if you go into a large lab, as you can see from this diagram, there's now multiple people to take the different roles doing the different jobs. So later on in life, I worked in an agriculture lab, which had me doing just the end quality analysis. So instead of being this person that kind of did everything, I was right here and I just got really good at this one activity. Occasionally, depending on other people's schedules and how things worked out, I could go over and do other stuff. If you find a small lab, I wouldn't worry too much about the description. If you know the overall lab and its mission, you're probably going to be doing a lot of things. Now, if you find a large lab, your actual job description is going to be a lot more significant because that's probably what you're going to be doing. And if you don't like doing the same thing over and over again, you're less likely to like this one. The other major component that's going to determine what your role in a laboratory environment is going to be is your level of education. Now, on this chart right here, I've got PI, or primary investigator, managers and specialists within the lab, and then I've got the technician level, which is kind of the people that are the bedrock of any lab environment. To be a technician, depending on the kind of work that you're around, a high school diploma or bachelor's will get you a job here. The high school diploma is going to be more for things that are labor intensive, especially in plant labs. There's a lot of growing, greenhouse, outdoors kind of work to be done. And for a bachelor's degree, you can go down and do pretty much any tech level job at that point. More specifically, depending on your degree, you're going to be able to do more of that genetics work. Above that, you have your managers and your specialists, which Bachelor's degrees, if you work at it for a while, you can get up to a point where you're managing a room or a lab. But for the most part, research and managers and stuff are gonna be master's degrees. Usually it's gonna be some sort of research specialist, though if you look at a lot of schools right now, they're offering these master's degrees that are just for managing labs and professional development that way. And at the very tip top is gonna be the private investigator, which you're gonna see the PhD do. You're gonna have to be very specialized in whatever field, because you're going to be making all the big inquiries at work. Who are the major players that actually provide jobs in this field? For the Fed, the two biggest agencies that are going to do this type of work is Forest Service and ARS, or Agricultural Research Service. Want to look for jobs in your state? Most are honestly going to be in universities, which makes a lot of sense. And then agencies if you want to work for the state, whatever it is, your Department of Forestry, Department of Agriculture. Private sector, I don't have too much experience. I know the name of some companies, but I think what would be even better is to just give you some links that will help you get started on a job search. And I'll give you some links for all of these up here. Check the description for all of that. Good luck on your job hunt and have a nice day.